Mutant League Hockey was released on the Sega Genesis in 1994 as the follow-up to Mutant League Football. Like its predecessor, the game was also released by EA, and it follows the same formula of a unique take on the sport, in this case hockey, as played by mutant motherfuckers who maim and dismember each other on top of playing by the normal rules of the game. There are 20 fictional teams, plus 3 all-star teams with demonic names like the Derangers, Liars, the Weenies, and the Things, as well as players that sometimes spoof real-life names like Smellios, Skingross, and LaPuke. These teams have a 0 to 6 overall rating, so you can gauge your difficulty setting, or essentially handicap multiplayer games for competitive balance. The players are divided into 3 categories: robots, skeletons, and trolls. The robots are faster and weaker, the trolls are stronger and slower, and the skeletons are well-rounded. It's very similar to ice hockey on the NES in that regard. Similar to the football spin-off, the game doesn't reuse the engine of its other EA counterpart, but it definitely does feel more like NHL 95 than how Mutant League Football was to Madden. The big difference is the controls are a lot more slippery. I mean, I know these guys are on ice, but they're supposed to be professional hockey players, even if they are mutants. There's all kinds of hazards scattered across the ice, like landmines, pits, fire, and sharks. When your mutant dies, they need to be replaced if you have the reserve setting on, and losing too many men will result in the game ending by forfeit. You can toggle how violent the game is on a scale of 1 to 5 in the death index. If you have this cranked, then get ready to see a lot of corpses littering the ice, and if you have the reserves on, then there's a strong possibility the game will end by forfeit. Then there are the little touches like how you can bribe a ref to call penalties on your opponent, this giant slug acting as a Zamboni picking up the bodies, and how you serve extra time in the penalty box for losing the fight, shades of Blades of Steel. The fighting is pretty standard fare for a hockey video game at the time, a Rock'em Sock'em Robots type of button masher. But the interesting thing is the previously mentioned rule where whoever loses the fight gets even more time tacked onto his penalty for losing. It's hilarious that there are even penalties in the game at all, considering you can fucking murder your opponent. But murder is just part of the game. You gotta have some semblance of rules, right? Penalties are also optional, although there are still stoppages for icing. There are special moves called nasty plays, like an exploding puck, rocket puck, or a farting skunk. These are ridiculous, but this is the kind of chaotic shit you're looking for in a game like this. You can play in an exhibition or a 16-team playoff tournament, but really playing this game against another human opponent is where the game is at. It's anything but a perfect hockey game. Like Mutant League Football, it's pretty rough around the edges, but it's a fun, psychotic arcade sports game to the extreme. And that'll wrap up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.